What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Seahawks Now, your home for all things daily Seattle Seahawks news, updates, and rumors. Today, interest in TJ Watt is rising after the Steelers' latest move, why some people believe the Seahawks could be interested, and are they one of the 5 best landing spots? We'll talk about that. CBS has some thoughts. Plus, we give the latest on the Trey Hendrickson rumors. Could another star defensive edge rusher be headed to Seattle? We'll talk about that. And we talk about the tight end market, which has been heating up recently. And does that mean the Seahawks should consider trading Noah Fant if the time is right? All that and more right here today on Seahawks Now. But first, as always, if you like what you see, make sure you hit the like button down below. It really helps the channel out. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another breaking news alert. All right, guys, today, not much breaking news, but we do have to talk about the TJ Watt rumors that I've been seeing flying for the past about 24 hours, ever since we heard that the Steelers were trading Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey. The Steelers, making a pretty big move here. They trade for Jalen Ramsey, who, I don't know if Jalen Ramsey is still that good. That's the problem with this move. It seems like they're swapping one washed player for another. Now, again, not saying that Jalen Ramsey and Minkah Fitzpatrick are washed, but neither of them are at the level that they previously were. If you look at Jalen Ramsey, for example, last year was his first time in 5 seasons not making a Pro Bowl, despite starting 17 games. He had an approximate value of 8, which is good, but not as good as he was when he was a 14 or 16 level player. So with the Rams, he was a lot better. He is 31. He's on the wrong side of 30. He still managed 2 interceptions, but again, he was averaging 3 interceptions a season before he came to the Dolphins. And then, last year, definitely kind of a weak year. Only 7 interception yards, 11 passes defended. He was solid, but he was not the same level of player that he was with the Rams or with the Jaguars when he was, an all-pro level player, and he made 7 Pro Bowls in the span of 7 years. He made 7 straight Pro Bowls. Last year was his first year not making it. Jalen Ramsey, I wouldn't say he's completely washed, but not the player that he used to be. Then you've got Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, he's suffered a little bit more from that. Obviously, looking at what he's done, he was a Pro Bowler last year, but his approximate value is also pretty significantly lower. He was at 6. Previously, he was at 11. So, either way, Steelers make a trade. They trade 2 washed players. How does that relate to the Seahawks? I've been kind of yapping about the Steelers. You might not be interested. Well, here's what I'm getting towards. The Steelers, it looks to me like they are trying to kind of retool and recycle where they're at. Does that mean TJ Watt could be the next guy out? And could they potentially trade him for something? He's owed a lot of money, and he says he wants to be there. But also, similar to where Trey Hendrickson's at, he does not have an extension after this season. So that's one thing. B, he has not been at their minicamp. So I don't know if you could call it holding out yet. I mean, he's not holding out yet, but he wasn't at the mandatory minicamps. So there's a kind of a question of, does he really feel comfortable there? Does he really feel like his place there is secure? And then we've got the latest breaking rumors from CBS. TJ Watt rumors 5 potential suitors as the Steelers seek to sign the star pass rusher. So yes, the Steelers are trying to sign him. They are apparently all in on the offseason. They did get Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's just a weird team, a really weird roster construction. But other teams are discussing potential trade offers. Apparently, outside interest is beginning to intensify, according to ESPN. That's interesting. And here's who the 5 teams are that they say TJ Watt might be best suited for. They have the Lions, the Packers, the Eagles, the Washington Commanders, and, yes, that's right, the Seattle Seahawks. It says, quote, Mike Macdonald is good for maximizing his defensive talent as the Seahawks head coach, and Seattle added DeMarcus Lawrence this offseason to give the pass rushing core some added depth. But this club could still use a bona fide sack artist. Its defense might go from stingy to spectacular with a talent like Watt. This landing spot would also enable the Steelers to keep Watt out of the AFC, and the Seahawks are projected to have an excess of salary cap space in the coming years thanks to their own off-season shuffling. Yeah, I love to hear it. They do think the Seahawks would be a good suitor, and I agree. Look, I've been talking about it for a while, but I just don't see this pass rush unit as truly elite. I think they're a good unit. I think Boye Mafe and Derek Hall are really talented. I think when he's healthy, Uchenna Nwosu is also really talented. And I'm honestly not sure what to expect about DeMarcus Lawrence just because of his age and his injury history. But again, when he's healthy, he's good. He played 4 games last year for the Cowboys and had 3 sacks. If he can do that over the course of a full season, that's 12 sacks in 16 games. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see DeMarcus Lawrence get into the double digits with sacks this year. But I don't think you can guarantee that based off his injury history, based off of just where he's been at health-wise over the past few years, and also his age. He will have to decline, and we have seen that from him before. Bottom line, we have a good pass rush unit. I really like the talent. I really like the young guys on there, but I still think you can make it better. And I think the way you make it better is by swinging for the fences, right? You don't win Super Bowls by playing it safe. I think we can pretty clearly see that, right? The Lions, maybe they tried to play it safe with Jared Goff. They didn't win the Super Bowl that way, right? You don't win Super Bowls playing safe. You win Super Bowls by taking big risks. The Rams traded for Matthew Stafford. They win the Super Bowl. That was a big risk. They did it. The Chiefs, they got rid of Tyreek Hill. They used the money to beef up the offensive line and the defensive line. They re-signed Chris Jones, and they won back-to-back Super Bowls after trading their star player. They took a big risk. It worked out in their favor. Look at even Philadelphia, right? If they played it safe, Carson Wentz might still be their quarterback. They took a big risk. They drafted Jalen Hurts. They benched Carson Wentz, and the rest is history, right? So you don't win Super Bowls by playing it safe. You win it with big, bold moves, and I think the Seahawks should do it. And if it's not TJ Watt, then I think it should be Trey Hendrickson. That's the next up on my list. Trey Hendrickson, right? Why not trade for Trey Hendrickson, right? Here's the latest on the Trey Hendrickson rumors. You ready? It's going to sound pretty, like, if you've been listening to the channel, this is going to sound pretty familiar. Trey Hendrickson still doesn't have a deal. The Bengals still trying to lowball him, and people are still pitching these trades. I mean, look, TJ Watt and Trey Hendrickson are 2 of the game-changing players in the NFL. There's probably about maybe 5 other guys who can do what they do, right? You're looking at Micah Parsons, Chris Jones, Max Crosby, Nick Bosa. There's not a whole lot of other guys. Myles Garrett would be in there, so probably 5 other guys. And then these other 2, Watt and Hendrickson, and you're telling me they might both be available? I mean, just having one of these guys available would be enough for me to be super excited about. But the fact that they might both be available, because neither of them have those new contracts that they're looking for, neither of them seem to be super comfortable with where they're at on their given teams. I mean, again, is Trey Hendrickson going to happen to the Seahawks? Probably not. But I still think that if the Bengals are open to trading him, the Seahawks need to be on the phone. I'm seeing a mock trade right now. The Colts could trade for him. The Falcons could trade for him. A lot of people still think the Lions should trade for him. Personally, if I was them, I would trade. I would get on the phone. John Schneider, I would be on the phone with the Bengals for Trey Hendrickson, because yes, he's that good of a player. He is the type of guy that brings your team from good to great, from great to elite. He's the type of big move that would actually put you in a position where no longer are you a team that is kind of consistently being ranked around 12, 13, 14. All of a sudden, you get Trey Hendrickson, you're a bona fide top 10 team in the league, and you're starting to get talked about as a Super Bowl contender. And I haven't heard the Seahawks this offseason be talked about as a Super Bowl contender. And you could say, well, that's maybe because of the quarterback situation, maybe because Mike McDonald's still a young coach, maybe. But also, if you bring in more star players, it's going to make your team better. I mean, it's pretty much simple math. You add more good players in, and the team is going to hopefully get more wins out. That's usually how it works. And speaking of trades, though, I do want to talk about one guy I think that the Seahawks could trade away, and that would be Noah Fant. Now, look, Noah Fant, I feel bad for Noah Fant because he was part of that Russell Wilson trade, and I just don't think he ever really found a home here in Seattle. The Seahawks thought he was going to be their starting tight end, but it just never really worked out for Noah Fant in Seattle. He had a decent season his first year here, but things just kind of got out of hand the past couple seasons. He just struggled. If you look at where he's been the past 3 seasons in Seattle, he's averaged just under 500 yards in the season. He actually has 1,400 total receiving yards, so he's averaging 467 yards per season, 10.8 yards per reception, just 5 touchdowns in 3 seasons, so he averages about 2 touchdowns per year. Now, he's been healthy, I'll give him that, and he's played 17, and 14 games. He only missed 3 games with the Seahawks, but just hasn't really been that guy. He never really reached the level that he did in Denver when he went for 670 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2021. Last year, he only had 1 touchdown and went for 500 yards. He's 28 years old. He's kind of starting to get expensive. So my question is, should the Seahawks trade him? The tight end market is starting to heat up. We just saw Jonnu Smith get traded as part of that Steelers deal. He's now a Steeler. Then the Dolphins, they just traded away Darren Waller. So interesting things are kind of moving around in the tight end market. Teams are starting to kind of fill that hole in their roster. Teams are starting to look around to see where can we upgrade? Where can we figure out who we want to add and who can we still add? I think that there's a real possibility that Noah Fant does get dealt. I just feel like with where the Seahawks are at in that tight end room as well, because remember, they drafted A.J. Barner last year, and then they drafted Julian Arroyo this year. So they have two young tight ends, including a second-round pick. I think long-term they're planning to definitely start Arroyo at some point at that position. So you have to think Noah Fant, his job is definitely at risk going forward. And I think that, yeah, if the tight end market continues to stay hot, Noah Fant definitely could be next. I mean, the Giants are going to need a new tight end right now, obviously. I mean, we just saw they just traded away Darren Waller, so maybe they would be interested in trading for Noah Fant. I don't know, but what I do know is that, yeah, I don't think his job is safe in Seattle because he is kind of the oldest of those three guys and probably has the least potential, but he's also the most expensive, which makes him not, yeah, his position on the team is not secure because when you're older, expensive, and don't have the potential as the younger guys who play the same position, you're not as valuable to the team, and the team, you start to become a little bit expendable. With that all being said, let's wrap things up for today. As always, this has been Seahawks Now, your home for all things daily Seattle Seahawks news, updates, rumors, and content. If you like what you see, hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications, and as always, until next time, go Seahawks.